Hey guys, today times with Nem somewhat different topic. Namely, how can I estimate the chances of X back myself? First of all, this will be an almost impossible task for many of you and also very frustrating if you find videos like this only a long time later. So if you had no idea about the topic before and acted intuitively for a long time, I can also only make slightly generalized statements here. Sometimes, for example, my feeling tells me something that is completely contrary to the data and I suddenly ask you questions that you never thought of in your dreams. The purpose of this is to look behind their facade a little and to evaluate and assess behavior that they may never have communicated to you so openly. Because especially when it comes to open communication, ex-partners are very opportunistic. What just corresponds to their self-image and what they were able to understand themselves, that is carried to the outside. Among other things to confirm themselves, to bring you at a distance, and that on the basis of self-reflection in a situation in which the counterpart is viewed very negatively. My priority then is to find out if it was an attraction problem and what the underlying issues were, or if perhaps it was also a trust issue within the relationship. And after that, how we can best mend these problems. But now let's get away from me and apply this to you. If the breakup comes out of the blue for you, there are two things to assess initially: is the attraction gone, or is the fabric of the relationship affected, so to speak, and does not allow for any further future together. You will not find this out, as mentioned in many videos, through a clarifying conversation or their words at the breakup. Why is this difference important? In case of loss of attraction, neither you nor she can do anything for or against it at that moment. It is then a matter of her seeing you as the best deal again, and desire for you can be triggered internally again. Is a problem that concerns the structure of the relationship and affection to you, then you have to actively work on it, possibly approach her and show that her worries are not true. But for something like that you would have to have really fucked up or developed in completely different directions. The fact is that you can be as attractive as you want. She knows inside that a decision for you will lead to old problems and it was a willful decision to leave. She probably still has attraction to you in that case too, and if it was just about that, that would be enough. But that alone is sometimes not the reason. It has a lot to do with the different sexual strategies of the sexes. A woman wants the best deal possible, and she wants it among men. Male characteristics are decisive. Among them whether one can offer her security and attention in the future. Can you not, or does she no longer see that? What is the best way to compare this? It is N strongly subconscious doubt about you personally. As if you learn that your partner has already had a total of 200 guys. In the male sexual strategy it plays a big role whether you can be sure that the woman is faithful, so that she has your children and not those of someone else. You can still find her so hot, when you realize that, then it all sinks a little bit and you run around with this doubt inside you. This is how the woman feels when she doesn't see a future with you. To give you an example, because I can imagine that many people now think that they are affected again, you have cheated on her once, which was forgiven, and does it again and again, whereby her trust in you is completely in the basement and she does not think that you will ever turn it off. If you now thought that she still has feelings for you would be the easier option, because you could do something about it. Take a good look at the case. Restoring attraction would be clearly easier. By the way, a loss of affection within this relationship is very often followed by a loss of attraction over a longer period of time. Sure, if you no longer believe in the relationship, then you look around for alternatives and find none possibly better deal than you get for the blinkers. Another example would be a toxic relationship or love withdrawal for manipulation. If something like that goes too far, the attraction can be wherever it wants, that will eventually affect the affection. Probably when she really realizes the extent and influence on her. Usually when the attraction has dropped a bit, but she normally wouldn't even think about breaking up. Anyway, little digression. And in my opinion, it's absolutely right that way. So, in case of loss of attraction it's relatively normal that you can't do anything at first except the contact ban. For everything else, it depends. But I have very rarely, the classic is really, Zach, feelings gone. Even if she tells you the opposite, but clearly says feelings and not love. In this case the deeds are more important than the words, but the words can still have weight behind the wall she has put up against you and can be due to a bond. Or it is a rationalized statement, so that you leave her alone, because she does not want to hurt you. Depending on the situation, you can tell from a neutral standpoint. You mostly shoot yourselves on the words themselves, thereby is also in the small thought to bring the nonverbal still into the equation with. That makes honestly in things attraction the larger portion, why it is also so a stupid idea to write anything with or after a separation. In my opinion, if you are alone and no one is guiding you through it, you have higher chances if it was really loss of attraction. Because what led to the trust/respect or loss of affection would require a change in yourself that might not be in your frame. It doesn't build you up, you would only be doing it to get them back. And that, again, is pretty contrarian behavior, which usually doesn't go over well with her either. Whereas, of course, it would be advisable somewhere for your future good to address such issues, if they are issues. Further in the text, how long was the relationship? Everything from 6 months has better chances here. The longer the better. Below that, very difficult. It's all about limerence, that is, the time when your attraction is so high that a bond can be built up at the fastest possible speed. If this is too short, or if you have fights or problems in the first 6 months that endanger the relationship, then this does not play into it in a positive way and the bond that you consider to be so strong is not high enough. But that brings us directly to the next point, long-distance relationship, intense weekend relationship, or maybe you even saw each other every day. It doesn't matter how often you saw each other. A healthy average is perfectly sufficient. It's about the intensity of the moments you experience together, and of course that this was not the exception. This has to be normal in the limerence, and if you saw each other once every 2 weeks and the rest of the time you just ride around, attraction may have been there, but not really increase. And if it doesn't do that in that time, it doesn't come to bonding. Your physical presence is needed for that. Well, that would be the basics. If there is something not fulfilled, or you are not sure where you stand with the ex, or where the hell really her problem lies, then you are already absolutely not in a position to assess whether there are still chances. If you know for sure that you haven't spent enough time together, then please check it off. At least if it's clear that she doesn't want to be with you anymore. Nothing good will come out of it if you don't carry the whole burden of the future relationship on your shoulders. But well, if that is clear so far and you know what the problem was, you can continue with the separation itself. How did you break up? There's a big difference between just walking away and accepting it and running after it for a month and a half and not grasping the reality. If you come to me now and say that you wanted to talk to her for a week and didn't understand, that tears flowed during the breakup talk, that you couldn't understand at first what the reason was, everything's fine, that's normal. You are only human, and she has not only foreseen such a reaction, but has prepared for it. It is important that you stop your attempts to get from her what she is not willing to give. The sooner the better. The stronger the image of you that remains in her mind. Now about your chances after the breakup. Have you been able to work out her image of the relationship and her feelings in it? Do you know your place in it and where you can start? If not, at least go your own way for the best chance and don't try to please her in every way. The more you work on yourself for her, the more unattractive is your behavior and your way on her, should she stand in front of you again. The neediness just shines through. It is also important that you develop yourselves according to your gender, in the appropriate direction. You can't stand there whining as a man and push all responsibility away from you. Just as you as a woman cannot start working on mainly masculine qualities and then get a man back. Your chance depends mainly on whether you choose qualities that will make your personal life, and at the same time you, better. Whether it gives you a certain inner peace and balance. No stress, not being dependent on getting attention from someone from the outside now. The further you get there, the less needy you become towards the ex, and the more you radiate that, the further you expand the opportunity. But this is always based on the individual situation. This is such a point that you can no longer change. Just as little as you can assess the current life circumstances, thoughts and feelings of the ex-partner, and that should not at all, because it holds you back in your own development. Take care, and until the next video.